Hi guys, welcome. My name is Emily Lutz. I'm here with a very special guest, Stephen Christie. So Stephen, we've known each other for a very long time. I used to train your daughter,
Right.
Emma, and I think when did I start training her?
Yeah, way back, probably about 10 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
12 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was about that. I choreographed her first solo.
Right.
Watch out.
Exactly. I remember that. That was great.
It's still on YouTube. I just can't believe how young she was back then and how much she has grown since then. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a typical parent. We have our businesses that we run. We do our daily lives with our families, and we, grow our kids and bring them into their places that they belong in their own doings, I should say. Mm-hmm. So for us, Emma, is our youngest, and she's loved dance. She started dance when she was 3 years old, and for her it was dance. When we take our other kids and we take them through their different events that they like, there was one thing that stood firm for Emma, mm-hmm. was that she always wanted to be at dance. Mm-hmm. So that she was the one that said, yeah, I'm ready to go to the next class. Yeah. So she didn't want to miss anything. So the idea of the fun part was watching her grow, but when she got into a place where now what do we do, which happens with most parents and their dance child, whether boy or girl, you got to make a decision, and we had to kind of look at it. It's like, where do we take Emma from this place to get into a career-like strategy, mm-hmm. to see how she gets through school, gets through college, gets into her commercial dance career. So, we've had people like you and others who have mentored the process for us. And so I love the fact that we're going to talk a little bit about that today.
Yeah.
Because as a parent, you got so many decisions to make, so many things to think about. Mm-hmm. And then you got so many challenges at the same time because, whether it's your own child or teachers or mentors or, everything.
Yeah.
You go through them.
So when did you guys realize that Emma, this is what she wanted to do? When you were at your first studio, what made you guys decide, like, okay, we need to take this step to a little bit further, just to further her career, basically?
And that's a great question because, for Emma, it was more of where is she going with it? Mm-hmm. And again, she had really, as an early opportunity, like working with you and working with the studio and understanding what she really liked in dance, she got a chance to understand styles she liked too and what she was doing great at. Mm-hmm. So I think it was at that point when we got to the age of 9, 10, that we had to really start thinking about what to do next. And that was a huge decision for us because you either are with a studio that you can grow with, that you feel comfortable and confident in, or do you start thinking about, just besides a studio, training starts coming in. Mm-hmm. Now, how do you actually start getting your child to train styles and techniques to understand what they like?
Mm-hmm. So I feel like you guys made the decision that you wanted to explore basically the dance community a little bit, right. Which brought you guys to Mather's
right.
Dance Company.
Right.
How was that? Because Mather's is not close from where you guys live. Explain how that transition was, how it was for your family, and why you made that decision to go there.
Well, that's a huge decision. Everything happens for its own reason, and it's funny to say that because I don't always believe that in that process. Mm-hmm. But as you watch time go by, right, and you watch your child grow, and you get involved in all these conventions, and you get involved in all these, when you go out and expand yourself, basically. Mm-hmm. And what we did with Emma, we were like one of the people who said, let's go try this, let's go over here, let's see this, and people like you inspired us to go out to look at the process, and when we looked at it, we felt that, when we went to Shannon and Mather, it was like a different feel, a different way of doing dance, and it was a whole different style, and we knew it was going to be challenging for Emma because she wasn't used to that style. But then the fact of, well, we're going to have to do something different because it's far away. Mm-hmm. So as parents go, oh my gosh, and now I've met a lot of parents who travel from states to come to different places But for us, we had to sit there and separate our family, 5 days a week, buy another house over in Orange County and get another house there, and actually have 2 homes to live in. And that was a huge decision. But it took us about 3 to 4 months to know that, yeah, this is what we need to do. This is what we feel confident in. It's the same thing you do for, there's kids who play hockey or they do travel, baseball, basketball. They had to make decisions on what's going to be the next step for them in their career to get better trained or structured to be able to take the next step, whether it's going into college or starting a career. It's a big decision.
Yeah. And I assume that Emma she still goes to Mathers and enjoys her time there and still learns from Shannon and all the rest of the teachers every single day. Emma did decide, though, this year as a freshman in high school that she wanted to go back to high school.
Right.
And back to normal school because she was homeschooled.
Yes.
Prior to
Yes.
Prior to freshman year, she was homeschooled pretty much her entire life.
Right. We did some different things. When we approached, even when we were here in our hometown, we had her start homeschool because she was be able to get out and get some training, do conventions, and do things that are important to her. When we got over to Mather, it was a change. We did homeschool, and then she got accepted into Orange County School of the Arts to do dance. So we did that for a year, and then we found that when we were doing that, it was too much. There's a lot of schoolwork, a lot of things that were going on. So then we did a blended program in Orange County with Orange OLU, whatever they call it. And it was a great experience for her too, because she was blending a little school and a lot more dance.
Yeah.
And she decided this year she wanted to come back home, and she's at Oaks Christian to do full-time school. Now, we're still adapting to that because she still goes to Orange County with Shannon and Mather and all the great people there, and she gets to come here and do some training here, and she enjoys that. But now it's a challenge because school is not easy, mostly in high school, and we got to look at that every single time and go, how do we create the best space to have her get everything she wants, both in going to school and getting her training in.
Exactly, and I feel like a lot of parents have that question in the industry. It's whether or not, okay, I have a dancer who is progressing, and a lot of parents come to me personally and ask, what do I do? Including yourself. What do I do? And I can give you the best advice. I'm not going to ever tell anybody what to do. But I feel like being homeschooled if you have a dancer that's like die hard wanting to be in school and wants to do dance team, that's a whole entity on its own. But if you have a dancer that wants to get an agent, they want to go to Edge, Millennium, the House, anywhere, it's almost where kids are starting so young nowadays. And it's those transitions where it's like maybe homeschooling is good for one dancer, but being on a high school dance team atmosphere is better for another. There's really two different sides, and I feel like Emma does everything.
Yeah, she does.
She goes to school, she has an agent, she takes classes here, she goes to Mathers, like she does it all. And for you guys, I feel like you're still in that process of like figuring out where she is like, funneling, just like a lot of other parents are doing right now.
It takes teamwork. I have a wife who is really involved, and fortunate enough for her, she doesn't have to be in the business side of it. I do the business side of our family and create the income to generate so we can do certain things and create our lives that we need to create. But at the same time, we both have different personalities and how we look at things. I'm the one who will do the research with her and go, which is the best direction for Emma to be in. And when you're saying dance team, Mather, going to training here, going to conventions, being on a convention team, and doing all these different things, you have to be well scheduled and you have to understand the process of it. And and you can ask anybody who I've been surrounded by, I'll ask a lot of questions. I will go do the idea of understanding what's the best next thing. I mean, for Emma, we've already started turning colleges at her sophomore year. And so it's funny because you do that because you want to be ahead of the schedule. And they tell you what they expect from you at the same time. So to me, it's like if you really use the resources that are there, but you have to communicate well. Like for the dance team at school, you have to communicate with them. Like, this is necessary to happen. So you have to have flexibility if we're going to be a part of this.
Yeah.
Also, you got to communicate with your child. And the same thing is, what do you really want? It's something that we always ask Emma. It's like, what is important to you? What do you really want? We have to make changes. We have to make choices, and we have to decide where to take. And we're parents. We're the really responsible ones. No matter how old your daughter or son is, they can't make those choices in their mind, because we have to look at the future, or they're here in today's moment.
Oh yeah.
And they're feeling today's moment, whether it's a good day at school, a good day at dance, you feel their moment, that moment, right? It's like when you went to college, you didn't know, you felt this was it. Well, as a parent, we have to go, where should we do here to look at what's going to look like over here?
Yeah.
And you're going to make good choices, and you're going to make bad choices. You're going to make decisions, you go, God, I'm glad I did that. And some decisions you're going to go, man, I wish I didn't do that. But you can't beat yourself up.
Nope.
The biggest thing, the biggest challenge is you are making a decision, where a lot of families are frozen. And they don't make decisions, and they don't execute anything, and don't engage. And what happens is, now you're losing space.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that can cost you, because then you have to catch up.
Yes. So I feel like, sometimes parents play it safe, where it's like, oh, my son or daughter is a really good dancer. They do well at competitions. The studio I go out is great. There's so much more than that.
Right.
There is so much more, especially nowadays. Like, there is a lot going on in our industry, and I feel like our industry is evolving faster than ever right now. And I think it's important for parents to explore all options, whether, like I said, competitions, dance teams, training, or finding out like mentorships or getting an agent. There's so many options for parents nowadays. And I think it is important for the parents to also listen.
Yep, very much so. There's one thing we always say, and I think it's no matter what child you have or what they're doing, you have to get uncomfortable to be comfortable in every situation, because no one wants to make a change. Change is the number one thing that everybody fears the most, because what would happen then? So if you do the what ifs all the time, then you're really not going to be able to make a change.
Exactly.
But if you turn around and you have great mentors, great people who can actually go, this is what I've done, and you take the information and go, how does it fit us? How can we do this? And, it's funny because, they are children, and they do have a voice.
Yep.
And the biggest mistake that I talk to parents, because parents come to us a lot because they know all the traveling we've done. We've taken them to New York, we've taken her to different places. People have asked us to bring her places. We take time, and we spend a lot of time because we know how important to her it is. Yeah. But one thing we do a lot of is we listen and we go, what's important to you? And sometimes you just have to be silent, because you'll find out you didn't hear something. And then all of a sudden you're making choices on something you didn't hear. And then the great part is, use the information and find the right sources. And that's what I think, like you're doing today. What's the best things that can take place for someone to, everybody feels the same way. No one wants to raise their hand. And the problem is, if you don't raise your hand, you don't get the answer.
Exactly. So what does Emma plan on doing in her future? Maybe, does she know what she wants to do out of high school?
Yeah, it's been a common discussion through the years, and she wants to go, her goal is to get in college on a dance structure for her. She's right now pinpointing the colleges she wants to go to, which are all, either contemporary dance or commercial dance. And and the strategies of that. So she's already looked at this age, and this is, again, funny to hear that, but again, you have to do that.
Yeah.
But she's looking at the colleges that best fit what she likes, what she wants to go forward with. And then she's looking at, with the college, not only the dance part, but another part of college that she can help her, whether what she does later on in her life, whether she's a choreographer, whether she decides she wants to do conventions, whether she wants to actually go dance around the world with somebody.
Like a concert dance
right,
kind of
concert
situation
dance,
where
right.
she's on a company and
the whole thing. So, so it's funny how you think, but you don't know that there's all these avenues to explore, even through college, to have a backup structure to know which way you want to go.
Exactly.
Because there's no one way. You can turn around and just go to your agent alone and go, and she'll tell you all the different options too.
Exactly.
So it's all factors.
And that's kind of what we want to do here at the house is allow dancers to explore every option that they have.
Right.
And I didn't realize that until I actually went to college. And I'm like, why am I just figuring this out now?
Right.
I had no idea. I grew up as a competition dancer and I was so diehard into that. I mean, yes, I would go to Edge at super late at night. I would force my parents to take me to like Andre Fuentes, Cheryl Murakami, Doug Caldwell. Like, I'd be like, come on, let's go. But I never really ventured out until I went to college, and I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea how many different avenues there are.
Right.
So that's kind of like why we're here discussing this, because I feel like it's important for parents, dancers, even dancers who have been in the industry, graduated high school, came out here, just got an agent.
Right.
That's all they've done. There's so many different things to it, and I think that it's important for all of us to start now to figuring out like, okay, what is my future after college too?
Right.
And plan A, plan B, plan C. As dancers, we don't have very long career times. So do you think Emma is going to, because you're a businessman, do you think Emma's going to do like a double major, like in business?
She will. It's funny, we always talk about it. And, you have to look at things in a way that what best fits.
Yeah.
And, when she goes out, like today, and I think you could probably agree with this, that it's not about the competition anymore. It's about the training. Yeah. And it's hard because you want your child to be on stage, you want her to get exposure, and you want to do all that. There's a lot of fake exposure. And the unfortunate part is we're in a social media world where everybody thinks what they think, but don't really know what they know. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of funny to say that. And what I look at is the best things we ever went to as for her to grow was training. Mm-hmm. And even convention competitions were the best, I thought, because you had us go to certain ones that you thought were great for us. And we just, because she got training. It was the training part. Yeah. It wasn't about the dance. It was great that she went out and did the dance part at the competition, but it was training.
Stage time too.
Right, and the stage time was great. But the convention time of different exposures, like you're doing here, bringing different people in here and letting someone get uncomfortable to be comfortable in a style they don't know.
Exactly.
Listen, when she went to Mount, that was a huge thing. And Shannon was awesome with it. Get uncomfortable. She knew she was uncomfortable. But Emma had to learn to get past that. It took a year to grow. Yeah. And that's what you do. You bring people to have them feel a difference. Yes. And so what? But it's so, a child takes it in so much as, I'm failing, instead of going, I'm growing. And we have to always go, you're not failing, you're growing. And don't feel this way. Understand that there are other ones feeling the same way when they go home. And so go next day, learn it, maybe stand aside and actually follow it a little more and focus more,
It's so easy for dancers nowadays to be like, oh, that class was so hard, I'm never going back.
And it makes sense.
Because there's so many other options. Like, I could just take this class, why not, But I think it's also important to, if it doesn't, what is it? If it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. Right. So I feel like Emma always is that kind of kid who's like, that class was hard. And then she looks at me and she smiles.
Right.
Because she's like, I like it.
Right. And, it is great. And she does want to expand that. And she does get frustrated because she's a perfectionist.
Yes.
And so it's funny because someone can say to her, you did great. And she didn't feel she did as good because she knows in herself, as any dancer does, what she could have done or what she thought she missed. But in the outside world, no one sees it. They just look at her style and who you are. And it's funny, you've created a lot of that, of following you in the process of what you've done. And good for her was she was young enough to be able to have people like you that she can watch and grow and go, wow. Because you had a technique that was way above most people. And that was important. I mean, she looked at it and said, I had to get technique up, better, grow. And to have people that you can watch, now I turn around and go, now as your mentoring program and the structure is now ask enough questions. And as parents, don't be shy, have respect, of course, for the mentoring system.
Yeah.
At the same time, have a way of communication, have a way to find information you're looking for, because you're going to best direct your child's career if you're asking the questions and you actually are listening to the answer. Because sometimes as parents, we want to kind of hear you, but decide in our own brain what we think is our thoughts.
Absolutely.
Even though we don't dance.
Yes.
So the idea is we look at it like, okay, yeah, I hear you, but how about this? And then all of a sudden you go, well, okay. You go back to that process, go, well, probably should have just done the whole thing instead of just half.
Exactly.
Make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
What about the how to best educate the process?
I use that word a lot around here in the house, educate.
Right.
How to educate the process, and who to trust.
Right. So, again, there's a lot of great people around, right? But you have to also decide what best fits. And you also got to decide to understand each level of education you want, because from a child starting at 3, like Emma did, to the age of 8, there's a 5-year strategy there that you're going to do. You're just going to really feel out how to figure this dance out, right?
It's a learning process for a parent at that point. You're
Right.
like, I don't know what this is.
And at 8, you're deciding, oh, okay, she's in or he's in, whether your dancer is a boy or a girl. And then you're going into the next phase. And I think that's where you're like, you really got to actually open your eyes and listen. And then when they get past the 12 mark, things are changing, mostly even for a girl. Things are changing in their lives. Things are changing in boys' lives. They're trying to adapt to the reality of what they are and who they are because their person's changing. And then you have to educate again. Now, mentors are there for that. Whether it's a male or a female mentor, they already went through that change. They already went through the strategies, the difficulties. I mean, like you said, education, schools, everything.
Yeah.
So you had to educate yourself and know that there's a change in each level. And when they get to that last year of high school, they are feeling the end result. Think about that. From 3 years, you did this, to all the way to be 17, 18 years old. It feels like that end result of what happens now.
Yes.
And there's probably an excitement, but there's a fear.
Yes. Absolutely.
And it's huge. It's huge among them all. And they're not going to tell you, but there's a little bit of unsurety, and that's where that place gets to. And that's where you come in to, embrace and engage. And even Shannon's done the same thing. You're taking people from this into an industry.
Exactly.
And they got to understand that that's an opportunity.
Yes, it's the void. It's that gray area that a lot of parents don't know because they didn't experience it, or dancers don't know because they haven't experienced it yet. And the educational part is to know and find those people that could help you along the way. In that kind of that gray area between either going to high school to college or college to coming out to LA or New York or wherever they want to go, I think it's really important to find those people, and not only just find one mentor, find two, get different opinions.
Right.
Ask.
Right.
All you got to do is ask and try, and that's what I feel like that's like what the most successful people have done in this world.
You know, and I'll tell you what I think the challenge is in the industry for parents, okay, is you have to trust. You really do. You know, when you put your children out there and into an environment that you're feeling is good for them to grow in, you have to really trust that environment, okay? And for everybody, it's a different experience.
Yeah.
And as you probably know through the years, and I've experienced it, you'll be around families, and they will be speaking in your ear. And they'll be saying mostly the negative side, not the positive side. And my wife knows how I feel. You know, we've had this discussion because, you know, she's around it all day long, and she's around it and she hears it, and I have to go back and go, okay, now let's think about what you're listening to. Now take the person that you're talking to, and now does that fit what we do? You really have to trust, because there's a lot of people who want to prove something wrong instead of something right.
Exactly.
And you really, it's a hard thing to do. Because you're like, oh my gosh, it may be a bad week or bad month that you're having with your child through this process. And then your excuse of, oh, this could be it.
Yeah.
You know, and then you're making bad decisions on a short period of time.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately, you can't make it up.
No.
So what I would say to everybody is when you make a decision, trust it. Give it some time, okay?
Yes.
And through that process, just be positive in the flow. Because a flow can either help your daughter or son or your child, or it can take away that whole experience just because of what you say. So be careful what you say.
Yes.
The second thing I would say is if you don't feel it after a while, make a quick decision and change. Because it could be, that environment could be corrupting your child.
Yeah.
And could take all the passion that he or she has and just destroy it.
Yep.
And there's that great child that had an opportunity that just got destroyed being in the wrong place. So I would say we had to make quick decisions in life, and you do. But I tell you, trust the factors.
Yeah, that's great advice. I feel like nowadays we all want instant gratification.
Always.
Always. And sometimes it's especially in your son or daughter's career, it's not about that. It's not about how many views they get on Instagram or how many followers they have. It's about, okay, but can that kid actually point their feet?
Right, exactly. You're so right. And the funny part is, I am coming from a different generation, so I saw life differently. And God, mirror as parents, we don't see life as fast as they see life. I mean, in their world, everything's instant.
Yep.
They can't miss a beat from their phones or their iPad, whatever they have, right? We look at it as that's your calming factor, get away from it.
Yep.
Because it could engulf you into this belief.
Like it's the biggest influencer for sure as far as what people think the now is.
Yeah. And my wife has been great about that because she's very much into technique because she was taught that at an early stage even from you. And she's always looked at it and said, Emma, I know you're watching this, but look at the technique. Because technique will stay with you, other things won't.
Yeah.
And the idea is, like you said, you know, you can pick it out anytime you see somebody and go, they have so much possibility, but get the technique back. And it'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So, you know, just have faith in that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Technique will never die.
Never die. Yeah.
I won't let it happen.
Yeah. And then, you know, unfortunately, if it does, it takes away from what dance is about.
Exactly.
And where the core of dance comes from.
It's where the discipline comes from.
Right.
And that's why dancers are the greatest multitaskers. That's why we can manage doing the dance teams, the competitions, and homework, and this and that, I believe it's because of dance.
Right. You know, you look at those things, and it's funny, just to say this, is when you look at those processes, right? I always told Emma, fitness is important. Stay fit. You know, two, you know, what your nutrition is important. nourish yourself for energy.
Yeah.
You know, and number 3, ballet is important. Get your core in, because I was taught from you and other people, if you can keep those 3 cores of process, you can do everything else because you have that. So we've always trained Emma in different ways of doing different techniques of structure for her fitness. You know, we've had great people that we've gone to and gone, hey, how do we work on the ballet part on the side to help improve that process? You know, so it's like you have to always look at it and say, how, you know, there's all these little things that you can do, but you have to make a decision, what's the ones you want to do.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on our show, and we look forward to having you back.
That'd be great. I enjoyed this. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
You bet.